Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. It's Tori. Today we're going to talk about my TBR for April. Wait a second. I'm not supposed to have TBRs. You're absolutely correct. I usually don't do TBR videos on my channel because I actually find them a little bit restrictive. However, in April, I'm actually running a small readathon on my Discord for my patrons, and it's gonna be really fun. I'm very excited about it. And so I kind of had to do a little bit of a TBR to plan what I was gonna read. Now again, there's some flexibility with this, but I am really excited for the books that I chose to read in April, and I thought might as well come on here and share it with you guys because I actually have a stack this month that's specifically going to be read for the readathon. So the first book on my April TBR is Dreaming the Eagle by Manda Scott. This is a historical fiction novel about the Celtic queen Boudica and her rebellion against the Roman Empire as they were encroaching into her territory and the territory of her people. And I have heard amazing things about this book and this series and about the historical figure of Boudica, and this is an era that really intrigues me in world history, but I haven't actually read that much within that era. So I'm really excited. I know that this book comes very highly recommended from quite a few of my historical fiction loving friends, which makes me all the more excited to read it. I will be reading this as part of a buddy read for the Library of Alexandria. So Alan is officially hosting the read-along that starts here in April, and so I will be reading this book with them. I had the mass market paperback and I traded it in for the hardcover because I can't do mass market paperbacks too easily anymore, and it also looks a lot less threatening when it's a hardcover because it's not quite as chonky. But I am really excited to read this. I don't really know what to expect. I'm going into this fairly blind other than a generic idea of the historical time period. Not to spoil the ending, but I think I'm pretty sure I know how this ends, but really excited to read this. I'm excited to get some historical fiction in finally this year because I've been reading a ton of fantasy, which, as we all know, is not a problem, but I have been missing my historical fiction, and I'm excited to get to it with this. The next book on my TBR, and these first three are kind of the priority reads, because I've been waiting a long time to read them, or they're buddy reads, etc. And the second one is a buddy read I'm doing with my friend Anitha from her channel Anitha Gade, and I'm also reading this with Pete from Ponderings of Pete, and this is Gloves of Eons, book 3 in Andrew D. Meredith's Collation Saga. I have also the beautiful hardback Kickstarter edition of this same book. I will be reading the paperback just because it is easier for me to read paperback than hardcover. But I'm very excited to continue on with the Collation Saga. I read Bone Shroud last year and really loved a lot of the expansion in Andrew Meredith's world. He is a wizard when it comes to world building, you guys, and I know every single time I bring up Collation Saga, I bring that up. So, beyond world building, one of the things that I love about this series that I wanted to touch on is that Andrew really takes his time to dig into the aspects of faith within this novel. It is very integral to the plot line. It is very integral to the characters. There are different factions of faith. There are different levels of, devout versus unbelieving. And there's just this whole religion theme that I think he handles in a very nuanced way. And I always appreciate when authors are willing to take the time to build that up in a layered theme, that it's not just black and white. I'm very excited to see what happens in the next book. It's been way too long since I said I was going to read and continue the series, so I do want to catch up this year, and book 3 is the second to last book that is currently out. Dread Knight is the fourth one and the only other one that I haven't read, but I'm very excited to get to Gloves of Eons in April as well. So the last commitment read that I have for April is a book that is for my book club that I do with my husband and 2 of our college friends. We meet about 4 times a year, and each time one of us has chosen a book and a film and a CD or album of music that really dates me, an album of music. And this time it is my friend Alyssa's pick, and she decided she wanted us to read The Princess Bride by William Goldman, which, for as many times as I have seen the film, I have never read the book, which feels a little bit wrong, but I am really excited to see how the book and the film differ, and obviously it's chunkier than I thought it was going to be. I have the really pretty illustrated edition, and the font is not very big, so I do not anticipate this book will take me that long. But I am really looking forward to seeing the differences between the film and the book, because the film is so universally beloved and it's such a kind of foundational story to so many people's fantasy journeys that I'm looking forward to seeing it in written form. So Princess Bride, Gloves, Viands, and Dreaming the Eagle are my commitment reads for April. The next book on my April TBR outside of my commitment reads is Blood Reunion by J.C.M. Byrne. This is book 3, or turn 3 of the Hybrid Helix, which is a sci-fantasy superhero space opera. And that is exactly as amazing as it sounds. Honestly, Wistful Ascending is still to this day one of my biggest surprises and favorite indie reads that I have had in the last few years. Rohan as a main character is just fantastic. And there's so much heart in this story. There's so many ups and downs and wholesome moments and humor, and Joe does a fantastic job with this series, and I'm very excited to get to book 3. Book 2 was a little bit lower for me in terms of an enjoyment experience, partially because we went back to Earth after having set up everything in the beautiful spaceship of Wistful and all of the motley crew that is there. And so losing them and going back to Earth, I wasn't really as interested in what was happening in the plot line, and I wanted to stay with those characters. And I know that in book 3, we do go back to space and Wistful and a lot of the motley crew members that we've met in book 1. And the only other thing I know about it is space vampires, which say no more. So really excited to continue with this series and start catching up, because I think we're at book 6 or 7 in the series now, and these are really easy, fun reads, and I'm looking forward to getting back with Rohan and the crew for another adventure. Next is a book by an author that I recently discovered and have been talking about on my channel a little bit, and that is Keigo Higashino, and this is the second translated book in his Detective Kaga series, Newcomer. I read Malice in February and really had a good time with it, and I really wanted to read more of Higashino's work, and there's apparently a dozen or so books in this series, but only 4 of them have been translated into English, and I do own all 4 of them now, and I am really looking forward to jumping into the next book in the series just to see what Higashino does with a different storyline and to see what is similar or dissimilar about his writing from Malice. So this will be a really good switch up from the sci-fi fantasy reads that I'll have been reading up to that point, and I'm really looking forward to continuing with more of Higashino's work because I know that he is a murder mystery and thriller author that works for me. Next up is a potential buddy read with my very good friend Casey from the channel Bookishly Bookish. We are going to try and get through Escape from Camp 14, written by Blaine Harden. This is the story of a North Korean defector, and as you guys know, I have read quite a few of those the last few years and really enjoy hearing the stories of these amazingly resilient survivors. And this is the next one on my list of those. I still have a stack of them to get through, but I'm really looking forward to reading this. This one has a little bit more to do with the North Korean prison camps and an escape from those specifically. And that is an aspect of North Korea that I have not read as much of yet. So looking forward to this. I'm excited to buddy read it with Casey and get through another one of the North Korean defectors, survivors, memoirs, or stories on my list. Last but not least, I am looking to read as an ebook Where Blood Runs Gold by A.C. Cross. The only thing I know about this is that it is a dark and gritty fantasy western, which is something that I am very excited to read more of, especially since I have my own fantasy western coming out at the end of May this year. You'll be seeing more information on that in the very near future here on the channel. But it sounds like fun. It sounds like something different from the other reads that I have in April, and I have been kind of eyeing it on my Kindle for a while now, and I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. Overall, whether I get 5 or 7 of these books read in the month of April, I think it is going to be a great variety of reads. I'm really looking forward to all of them. I'm looking forward to doing the readathon with my patrons in the Discord, which all of my information for my Discord and my Patreon is down in the description box below. My Discord is currently private, but I am also in a lot of the public Discords led by other booktubers, so chances are if you're in one, you could probably find me in there. Anyways, that's my TBR for April. It feels really weird to be doing a TBR video again, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'd love to know your thoughts if you've had an experience with any of the books that I mentioned, and I'd also love to hear what your TBR for April looks like if you have one, or if you are just planning to mood read your way through the month, which is also completely awesome. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. I hope you're reading some 5-star reads, and I'll see you in the next video.